If I'm not crazy, we should be live now, and I'm sure ADR will interrupt me if we're not. But good afternoon, Final Fantasy Randomizer. We are here live with what is basically a qualifier for the upcoming marathon, which, if you're not aware, we are doing a winter marathon here on Final Fantasy Randomizer channel on December 9th, 10th, and 11th to support the MUSC Children's Health and the South Carolina Firefighters Burn Children's Fund. Which does exactly what it sounds like it does. A great cause to help children who are victims of burns. So we'll get into that a little bit, but for now we need to get these runners going. So I'll explain why we're doing this as the countdown begins. So long story short, we have 5 or 6 people who really want to be part of this marathon event, but as you can imagine, there's really only 4 slots available. So we decided to settle this the way that all races should be settled, by racing. So we do not have a delay going on here. We instead are going to just jump straight into the action with the runners off to the races with an axe in hand. So we are using our beta site for this, so we are doing a couple of different things with these flags. The 2 biggest ones are we have a shattered sky coin, which is going to give us basically the equivalent of a shard hunt. There are 24 pieces of the sky coin that need to be collected in order to complete the seed, and we also are using the enemy randomizer flag. Basically, the enemy attacks are going to be complete chaos. There are going to be enemies that have the Dark King's abilities. There are going to be enemies that have the abilities that just involve hitting things really hard. But there's no telling what they're going to have until we see them. And yeah, you can see on Hibinks' side, the Sky Fragment. We are going to need 24 of these to complete the seed. In the meantime, we did also manage to find a sand coin out of that first little box there in the level forest. Among other things, we do have battlefields prioritized, and all other item locations are included in the shuffle, so anything can have anything. NPCs might hand us absolute garbage. The red chests will have important stuff, but the battlefields are guaranteed to give key items for your time, and we see Hebinks is already jumping into that. Did we shuffle the battlefield locations? Yeah, we did shuffle those, so we are going to be looking out for blue battlefields. There are 5 of them, and they will have key items in them. Now, key items here include both key items that are required for progression and items that are equipment and or spells. So, as you can see, most of the runners are opting to go ahead and check that battlefield. Without bombs, we really can't do anything here in Sand Temple except advance Tristram to a state where we can see the second Tristram. And Artea showing off some tech there. He's going to go ahead and use the quick way out through the sand. So, we are also playing with a new flag today that includes a shortcut to Doom Castle through the Focus Tower. So, if you've seen Final Fantasy Mystic Quest runs before and you're sitting here going, well, when's the part where Wood's going to rattle off, 17 things because that's required to complete the game? Not today. We basically only need the Sky Coin to get to the final boss. But, as I pointed out, the Sky Coin is also in 24 chunks, scattered across everything. Well, there are those bombs if we want to go back and do Sand Castle with Phoebe, or Sand Bone Dungeon. There we go. And it looks like we, so far, armor-wise, have everything but an improvement to our starting steel armor. So, that's at least something. But in the meantime, we do have a vendor selling the Mobius Crest here in Aquaria. Not immediately useful. Alright, so I do see we have a Giant's Axe on Caleb's side. I'm not sure where we picked that up. I'm guessing it came out of the battlefield. So that's convenient. And I just realized I need to get chat open up. There we go. Alrighty. So at this point, we are looking for mainly access to the rest of the map. So, this is effectively a shard hunt for folks who are familiar with other games. So we have one of the 23 fragments of the Sky Coin we need in order to be able to go into the final dungeon. And to that end, we do have the runners going every which way. So Artea does find a Sun Coin, and that's going to be really handy. That's more of that access I was just talking about. More importantly, that access is going to be probably to our most chest-rich region of the map. Since this is a full chest shuffle, what that means for our runners is that they are going to be looking for basically high-density plays. Places like the volcano, well, not the volcano, the lava dome, where there's a lot of brown chests in vanilla that can potentially have the Sky Coin fragments here in this shuffle. And Hebinks is opting to go ahead and clean out the Bone Dungeon here with Phoebe in hand. He was going to make that a lot easier. And Artea picking up the Magic Mirror, and it looks like probably a couple of Sky Fragments if I'm looking at the tracker right. Hebinks going to go into this little secret area that, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know existed until I started playing the Randomizer. And then going to continue on. There are 4 chests here behind the boss, so that is presumably Hebinks' aim, is to see how many of those turned into red chests, because that is probably one of the highest density, just scope it out locations. We do also have a magic mirror from Artea, like I said. We got that out of Phoebe here in the Wintry Cave. That is not immediately useful because no one has found a sword yet. And that Captain's Cap is even more useless than a magic mirror right now. That's basically only going to be good for another route into Focus Tower. I guess it... Yeah, no, I can't imagine it'll ever come in handy. But we do have 2 red chests behind our good friend Flamerous Rex, so Hebinks is going to go ahead and take that fight. Meanwhile, Oipo and Artea looking like they're going to... Well, Oipo doing Falls Basin. It looked like Artea was going to head that way for a second, but it looks like he's changed his mind. But Hebinks already done with Flamerous Rex. Flamerous Rex is not a hard boss. I don't even know if we got to see anything fun. But yeah, do keep your eyes out. Like I said before, we do have ability shuffle on, so enemies can do literally anything. Ooh, that is a Libra Crest and the Meteor spell for Hebinks. That Libra Crest gonna open up a couple of more checks here and there. Like, it's gonna be a couple of checks over in Aquaria. It's gonna open up one more chest for us, I believe, in Alive Forest. It's 24 pieces Chanigan, but you know what? Close enough for government work. So yeah, Oipo going to go ahead. I think we found another fragment here in Falls Basin. And Phoebe going into the Alive Force looks like he did pick up the Mobius Crest out of Aquaria. And we do have a sword as well. So, the sky's the limit right now. And that Mobius Crest, yeah. I wasn't looking down at Artea's screen, but I am reasonably confident that Mobius Crest is why we are in the Windia region right now. So, for folks who are unaware, ooh, and there's a Night Sword on Hebinks' side, so that is super convenient. Alright, so for folks who may not necessarily be aware, the way this randomizer is coded to work, those coins that I keep talking about are logical access to different parts of the map. However, there are sort of shortcuts baked into the game that allow you to use these crests that these runners are finding to access different areas. So, the logic does not assume that Artea has access to Windia right now. But, Artea does have access. Oh, no, wait, no, the Sun Coin gives access. I'm dumb. Okay, never mind. Artea had logical access. The Sun Coin opens up Windia. I'm being silly. But what Artea does now have is the ability to recruit Kaylee, who opens up opens up 2 NPC checks and also just gives us access to Kaylee. Not that Artea is likely going to take that. He does already have BB2 available once he goes back to Windia, which he'd have to do Kaylee 2's check anyway. So this is going to be pretty quick. Oipo currently collecting food. He did warn us in the race room that he'd be stepping away for grub, so that is a thing that is happening. Caleb, meanwhile, also going to go back, collect that Mobius crest, and like Hebbings, has that Night Sword out of the Libra Temple, so we're likely to see a lot of backtracking to follow Artea's footsteps. And we do have a mask now on Artea's side. So that mask, again, not required. So normally in the game, you use the mask and the magic mirror to see enemies on certain dungeons where enemies are invisible. The logic we are using does not require you to find those items before you go into their respective dungeons. But they make them much nicer, because otherwise what you wind up seeing is a lot of runners running. But yeah, so Oipo will be back. He is literally getting up to go get food because he is hungry. But in the meantime, yeah, Artea just going to go ahead and use Kaylee to do some quick murder. Oipo picking up the Mobius crest. Yeah, so until we find the river coin, which is the actual coin to get into Fireburg, we do have the Mobius crest as a potential backdoor. We need a couple more items to make that viable, though. Specifically, we're going to need the multi-key and a claw in order to exit the Mobius crest location. Alright, so in the meantime, just kind of looking things over. And the numbers that you see beneath by everyone's names is our indication of how many Skycoin fragments they have. This game moves fast, as you have probably noticed, so it's not necessarily going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be a pretty good indication of who has picked up what. So right now, Hibinks and Artea are fairly even in terms of crest pickups. Caleb and Oipo a little bit behind. Oipo because, you know, he had to go get food. And Caleb just because he's been doing a lot of checks that have been valuable, but not necessarily giving up the goods in terms of getting the Skycoin fragments. And no worries, ADR, you know, this is a test run of a lot of things. So, a few glitches are to be expected, but, yeah, it's just one of those things, even if everything's working perfectly, the human eye can only catch so much, and these runners are experienced and fast, if you didn't pick up on that already. But yeah, so, everyone at this point is just doing a lot of checking around. Sorry about that, folks. Apologies for causing you to yawn as well. So, right now, we're seeing everyone kind of doing the easy checks. We may see everyone else... We may see some Ice Pyramid plays here, especially from Hebbings and Caleb. Since they're already in Aquaria, they already have their mirrors, and they have their swords. Artea might also make that play, but he does now have a claw. So, he could opt to say, you know what? I'm not in Aquaria anymore. I don't plan to go back to Aquaria. I'm gonna move on. And yeah, if you... the music choice, by the way, whose audio we're using is basically going to just be based on who we can get working. So, that being said, we are using Audio Shuffle, so I hope you're enjoying hearing completely different Final Fantasy Mystic Quest music today. No promises that anything's going to make sense. But yeah, here we are in the Ice Pyramid. That is 2 Sky Fragments off the bat for Habinks. Very strong play right away. And yeah, we're just going to be kind of moseying through here. The Claw is going to come in very handy. That 3rd Sky Fragment, okay. So apparently, whoever broke the Sky Coin just decided to stick them all in the Ice Pyramid for some reason. But yeah, Habinks already a third of the way to go mode. And yeah, like I said, the only requirement is to be able... Yeah, Chanigan, I knew that was a thing you could do, but I couldn't for the life of me remember how it worked. So I would strongly encourage anyone who's in our Discord to feel free to ping Arte after the race and ask for a tutorial on how to do that. Because I imagine everyone will be doing that. From now on. Or at least when it's convenient. That being said, Artea, like I thought, going to the Windia area instead, going to be doing some of these checks. Mount Gale is off the map, and Pazuzu's Tower is also off the map, but I think Artea can go a little bit deeper into a giant tree before hitting a Dragon Claw block, so we may at least see him dip a little bit just to see what he can see. I think we just saw Flare on Artea's screen, so that's big. Habinks, meanwhile, continuing to make his way here through Ice Pyramid, with VB1 in hand. Oh! But speaking of the Dragon Claw... Right, so the good news for Artea is the Seed's gonna push him back into Ice Pyramid before long, unless, say, the checks are just... Yeah, unless, say, we get a check that does put Artea able to get into Firebird, which at this point, that would be basically exactly the River Coin or exactly the multi-key from one of these remaining checks in Windia. Otherwise, he's gonna go back to Ice Pyramid. But Windia has a lot of Sky Fragments as well. I think that's 3 just in the town. And yeah, Stalkor, that... Caleb really likes to have backwards running sprites because, it just does. But yeah, incidentally, if this is your first time seeing this randomizer, ffmqrando.net is our website. Dev.ffmqrando.net specifically has some of the beta features we are showing off here right now. But, yeah, so it's one of those things. There's also a link to our Discord there if you want to come hang out, join us, talk about this game. This is a very interesting randomizer in that it shakes up the progression of the original game in a way that actually brings out a lot of nuances that people didn't previously necessarily recognize with this game. Mystic Quest has a lot of surprising little tricks to it, and so Artea back in Aquaria, but going to be diving deeper into the Wintry Cave. I believe he came here before he found a claw, but Habinks, meanwhile, going to go take a look at... Oh, it looks like Ice Golem actually guarding something important today. So, we are actually going to get to see an Ice Golem fight. And yeah, it is one of those things, this is just a fast randomizer in general. Like, I know people don't think of Mystic Quest as a fast game, but when you're not having to worry about cutscenes, you just kind of blow through things. There's a reason we have 2 trackers on this, because everything moves so fast, you cannot hope to catch it if you're watching more than 2 screens. And even watching 2 screens, this can oftentimes just be so fast. So if you're sitting here wondering, man, Lutz is kind of talking about a lot of stuff, and, you know, there's a lot happening on screen that he's not talking. It's because I ain't seeing it. I've got one eye, people. Yeah, so it's one of those things you kind of just... It's kind of just a sensory experience. But if you do see something that you think is really important that I don't call out in chat or that doesn't pop up on the trackers, feel free to say something there in chat. Like, if I don't see it, I could use the help. But Artea finally getting into the Ice Pyramid, as Hebbinks is finishing up this Ice Golem fight. This is going to go faster for Artea than it's going to go for Caleb and Hebbinks, just because Artea went and got Phoebe too. And yeah, Giga, one of our trackers, also pointing out that we do have a speed hack going on, so everything is fast in the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest Rando, which, you know, not something you usually associate with RPG randos in my experience, but we're here. Alright, but let's find out what this Ice Golem has been tucked away here. And I think Hebbinks didn't check the Noble Armor room beforehand, so we'll see him drop down a couple of floors to see what we can see there. Ah! Sky Fragment. And yeah, here we are. So there's our River Coin, there's our Jumbo Bombs, our Book of Heal. I'm gonna go ahead and restock Phoebe's arrows, grab a Sky Fragment, and an accessory that we don't need. So Hebbinks gonna go ahead and walk on out of here. We have not found the exit spell yet. And it looks like we did also find a Thunder Rock somewhere in there. So Thunder Rock is not required for Go Mode. As I said, our access to Doom Castle today is using a flag that enables a shortcut in Focus Tower, so we don't have to actually do the whole open up the Rainbow Bridge, rescue Spencer, go to Captain Mac, give him his hat, take his boat, that whole thing. But we do still have 3 boxes in Spencer's Cave that we can pop open. So we are going to see these runners going into Spencer at some point. With that Thunder Rock in hand, just because that's more Sky Fragment checks. But Hebbinks, our first runner, who is going to make it into Fireburg proper. So, and he and Artea kind of in the strongest positions. Artea only needs 8 more Sky Coin Fragments to have Go Mode. Hebbinks, meanwhile, going to be going ahead and clearing out the Fireburg area. Now, someone who's a little more knowledgeable about the Skycoin flag may be able to help me out here. Do we have more than 24 Skycoin fragments in the pool, or do we have to find every single Skycoin fragment? Alright, so Gigo Toby is saying that there are 40 fragments available. So that is going to be good news for these runners, because I assume no one wants to have to go through Pazuzu's tower for 1 fragment. Alright, thank you, Wildham. Developer confirming that we do have 40 fragments available. Of them, we only need 24 in order to have a completed Skycoin and enter Go Mode. But as of right now, we have Hebbinks climbing the volcano. Unlike Artea, Hebbinks does not have a mask, so he is going to be stuck hunting for the various chests while needing to basically run into fights and run away from them. So yeah. Meanwhile, Caleb finishing up his fight with Ice Golem, and Artea... Yeah, alright, Artea just about to get there. Alright, and we are having some discussion of how this works in chat, namely that There is no animation, you just have to recognize that you have found enough shards to have the Sky Coin. Though I assume the Sky Coin appears in your inventory. Alright, so Oipo going to be finally making his trip into ice. The other thing to keep in mind, we do have the Boss Rush flag on, along with the Doom Castle shortcut. So the Dragon Claw is not strictly speaking required in terms of go mode. If you can manage to complete this seed without the Dragon Claw, you don't actually need it. But it is quite likely that we are going to see all of these runners need to do at least a couple of Dragon Claw checks to fill things out, unless Firebird is just stacked. But Heavings, in the meantime, it looks like deciding not to go into Lava Dome, instead heading over to the Windia area to have a look around. So we know that this is going to even him up with Artea, and we'll see how things roll from here. But yeah, Heaving's going to take advantage of that Thunder Rock. This was something Artea wasn't able to do before because he did not have the Thunder Rock when he came to Windia, so there's a handful of checks. Oh, I didn't even catch that box in Autostatic. So yeah, I think that's 4 Sky Fragments in this town. Very convenient. And yeah, Caleb going to go ahead and open all the doors. Let's go ahead and take care of that business. So, one thing I haven't touched on yet. So, normally, because of the strict requirements for Go mode in a standard Mystic Quest seed, so, you know, there's that whole laundry list. You need a sword, you need the Dragon Claw, you need the Mega Grenades, you need the Thunder Rock, you need the Captain's Cap, you need the Mobius Crest, you need the Sun Coin and the Sky Coin, yada yada yada. You know, like I've said several times, we don't need any of that here. But, what we do need is the ability to actually survive the fight with Dark King. And while we do have ability shuffle on, Dark King is not necessarily as dangerous as he could be. That doesn't mean the Dark King isn't a dangerous fight. So, we may see one of these runners hit Go mode, and then they may not necessarily immediately go for it, because we do also have Boss Rush on. They are still going to have to fight their way through all 4 of the Doom Castle bosses as well. So, between Dark King and those bosses, they may opt to do additional checks, maybe doing equipment diving, or just grinding some extra levels out of some later game enemies. And yeah, ADR pointing out, just as an aside, that there are on-screen trackers for the fragment count. So, we do have some other options as well. But yeah, long story short though, Artea only needs 3 more fragments to have his Sun Coin, or his Sky Coin. That does not mean Artea is necessarily going to be making an aggressive play right away for Dark King. He might. Because with the scaling we're using, which is 75 base, 50 spread, it is entirely possible that we have a very soft Doom Castle, especially with Boss Rush going. But, it is still definitely not a safe play. You know, you could go in there, you could bounce off the 2nd or 3rd boss. Skullrus Rex probably not going to cause any real difficulties. Stone Golem could cause some trouble. Twin-Head Wyvern could cause some trouble, or Dual-Head Wyvern could cause some trouble. Zuh could cause some trouble. So, we'll see how things shake out. Okay, Twin-Head Hydra. I never remember what the dang thing's called, okay, Giga? It is double-headed dragon thingy, which is not the one guarding a crystal. Okay, now you're back. You know what? Whatever. Bad thingy what guards the floor made out of fire normally, okay? We're good. Okay. Twin-Head Wyvern and Doom Castle. We're good. Yeah, I knew I was right with Wyvern, but then you were all like confident and such, and you know this game better than I do. I remember the Stone Golem, and I remember Zuh, and I remember Skullrus Rex as long as I see Flamerus Rex first to remember that that's what it is. But anyway, enough talking about things we're going to see. Let's talk about things we're seeing. So, as I pointed out before, Artea has that mask, so he's going to be able to just go ahead and scramble up the volcano. That is his 23rd fragment. Alright, he's going to stick with volcano. I was going to say, he could opt to just go for the high density play that is the Lava Dome, and see what happens. But meanwhile, Oipo finally getting through with the Ice Pyramid, Hebinks and Caleb opting to climb the giant tree. There are some pretty high concentration checks late in the tree, so I can understand why they're opting for it. And yeah, so Artea did a few checks in Volcano, going to go for these higher density plays in Lava Dome, knowing that only one more fragment is, strictly speaking, necessary. And he's got some good gear right now. Equipment-wise, solid selection all around, but I believe we did find a flare spell for Benjamin. So Artea gonna be busting that out a good bit, if I'm not mistaken. Meanwhile, not sure I've seen anything yet. Caleb remembering the handy-dandy quick way to do that little drop there. But I'm not sure if we've really seen too terribly much here in Giant Tree yet. At least nothing world-beating. Yet. But Caleb getting up to the upper reaches of this tree here soon. Getting a little lost because we're, A, in Giant Tree, no one likes to do Giant Tree, and B, Giant Tree not necessarily the easiest to do, but there is another Sky Fragment for Artea, and he looks like he is... Alright, yeah, I think either way he is now good on the Sky Coin, but gonna collect some extra fragments, so I think he may at this point be in looking for gear more so than progression. Chanigan, I think we have the shortcut on. We don't need the captain's hat. So, yeah, no, the only thing we require is the Sky Coin. And so Artea is now in Go mode. But like I said, it's Go mode, but you want a little more power on Benjamin. And I mean, that being said, Artea is already up to 600 HP, so we could see him make his Doom Castle play soon, and that Excalibur... Yeah, that Excalibur was the last piece of the puzzle, it looks like, for Artea. He is out of Lava Dome and likely about to be making a beeline to Doom Castle. I was gonna say, we may be stopping off at an inn, but no, we're going in. Ooh, good call from Chanigan. No life spell on Artea's screen. I don't think anyone's seen the life spell. I mean, Hebings might have just seen the life spell. So that could come into play. But, yep, Artea taking the stairs down to Doom Castle, and we're gonna see how this goes. Like I said, this map has been edited. We do not need the Dragon Claw or the Mega Grenades. We are just going. So, ooh. So, if Artea is unsatisfied with what he's found, that does open up another check or two. I don't think we found Wake... Well, no, we do have Wake Water, so... If Artea wants to go back to Aquaria for sort of a realigning, then that is also on the table. But in the meantime, we are about to open our first Sky Coin door, and Artea is going to be our first on-screen runner into this final pursuit. So, just as a reminder, there are actually 5 runners in this race. Alright, ADR letting us know that we do have life. Okay, no, Artea does have life, so life was in Pazuzu's tower. Fairly early, too. Or was... yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, we do have 5 runners in this race, actually. I believe Captain Nerd is our 5th runner, who is not on stream, but also in this race. And these runners are running for 4 positions in the upcoming FFR Randomizer Marathon here on December 9th, 10th, and 11th for support of the MUSC Children's Hospital and the South Carolina Firefighters Burn Children's Fund. So, you're obviously already following this channel, or you somehow randomly wandered into it, so, you know, keep that in mind. We're doing a little bit of a marathon here in a couple of weeks here on this channel, so, well, not in a couple of weeks, in like a month, on this channel. So if you want to stick around for that, or, you know, come join the Final Fantasy 1 Randomizer Discord and see if you can help out, that's something to keep in mind. You know, details are there in the link that Chanigan just had the bot post. And yeah, just to clarify, there were originally 6 runners doing this, but our 6th runner had much of a muchness happen in out in Elite Space and was unable to join us. Shoutouts to Big Daryl. But yeah, while I've been kind of rambling about that, Artea has already made it up to Zuh, so this is good news for him. He's in... This is at least not going to be too bad to, well, he can save after this. If Dark King proves a problem, then he can always come back later, but this is definitely working out right now. It's entirely possible, ADR, that we've fallen behind a little bit on the fragment count, but honestly, that's to be expected. So, Hebbinks, still needed to pick up some more fragments, but this should not take him too terribly long, to be honest. He'll probably do the same thing Artea did, go into Lava Dome, find everything he needs, and go on his way. Unless... oh no, he's gonna go do Kaylee. Okay. Oh, no, wait, does Hebbinks... Hebbinks might already have his Sky Coin. We may have missed that. And yeah, we are seeing a little bit of shenanigans with the enemy shuffle. Ooh, that's 2 fragments for Oipo there. Okay, Hebbinks got the Sky Coin at some point. Hebbinks is our 2nd runner into Doom Castle here. Gonna go ahead and stock up on supplies, and is gonna go at it. So, Hebbinks, I think, a little bit better position in terms of... well, maybe. Either way, Hebbinks in about the same position as Artea. Maybe has missed out on some armor. I'm not 100% on that. I don't remember where the noble armor was, and I'm not sure Hebbinks went and got it, but everyone else, in the meantime, definitely did find it, so I'm wondering if maybe we just had a blink and you miss it moment for the trackers. But either way, Hebbinks is going to be our 2nd runner into Doom Castle. Meanwhile, Artea still working through Zuh, almost done, and then we will be into the Dark King fight. The Dark King will probably not have Dark King's theme. I don't know if we've heard it already. I can't hear the music. But as is tradition, we'll still let whatever track is playing go through the first phase of Dark King, because this is Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, and every track is, in fact, a banger. So, I'll see you all in Phase 2, assuming that Phase 1 doesn't do horrible things to Artea. Phase 1 fought through successfully. Didn't look like it had too much rudeness to it, but let's see if Phase 2 can make up the difference. The answer is no. We are already on Phase 3. Artea may be lucking out here with a soft Dark King. But Phase 3 can always have rudeness affiliated with it. But Phoebe is going to go ahead and pick up our Benjamin after Dark King blasts him. That fire, not what you necessarily want Dark King to break out. If you are pulling for the Dark King. Ooh, but it has that Ice Golem Ice Block throw, and it looked like that hit hard even with Phoebe's resistance to water. So yeah, Dark King not necessarily hitting hard, but skills at least are coming out. Well, they're coming out late in the round, so could be nasty if the Dark King breaks out something that is a little bit rude. But we are into Phase 4, and it's looking like Artea is in good shape. Party is fairly healthy. Dark King isn't showing any skills that are too terribly rude. And the flares are a-flying. Benjamin goes down, that's fine. Phoebe is in perfect health and has life. Dark King cracks her over the head with that ice. Yeah, that's hitting for 300 damage on Phoebe, who is resistant. But it doesn't matter, that is GG for Artea, who is going to take first place with an official time of 40 minutes and 34 seconds. So Artea stomps his ticket to the finals. Or not the finals, but to the tournament. To the marathon! Marathon is the word I want. Right. Either way. So, Caleb, meanwhile, into that fight. But as a reminder, this is like I said, this is a 5-way race for 4 slots. So this is literally not over until 4 people finish. So this is going to be tight all the way through. Depending on when Captain Nerd finishes. Because if Captain Nerd snags one of these next 2 slots, then we are going to be watching 2 people racing for that final position. But, yeah. So Headbanks looking like also going to be in good position to make the marathon. Let's see if Artea wants to come in and chat for a little bit while we are doing stuff. Obviously no obligation to do that. This is the middle of a work day, so, you know, or a weekday, so there's other stuff going on, but I'll find out one way or the other. But in the meantime, Hebbings into this Dark King fight, and we know this Dark King not an excessive threat today. You know, Hebbings' equipment situation may be a little more chancy, but we'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, Caleb heading back. So, in the meantime, yeah, Caleb heading back through the tower, going to be heading to Firebird, so likely going to follow the same course Artea did of plunder some of these high-density dungeons and get your rewards. Also, it looks like Caleb still had Phoebe 1, so that was bold. But in the meantime, Oipo now into Doom Castle, so barring trouble on his side, this could be a race between Caleb and Captain Nerd for that vaunted last position. And yeah, definitely some kinks to work out with tracking the sky coin fragments, but at the same time, you know, again, this is a very fast randomizer. It can catch you off guard, but yeah. So Caleb gonna be doing some checks here, and Hebbings has finished in second place with an official time of 44 minutes and 10 seconds, also stamping his ticket to the marathon. I said it right that time. Alright, so handling some interview discussion on the side. Sorry about that. But I am now back to paying attention to this, and I once again see that Stone Golem did not pose much of a threat. Shoutouts to Exit. And with that, Caleb heading back toward Focus Tower. I'm wondering if he found his last sky fragment. He's now heading up the tower. So, you know, the downside right now... Ooh, he's got Reuben 2 in hand, though. Caleb could be going... Wait, is that Reuben 2? No, that's Reuben 1. Okay, Caleb going back for his Phoebe 2. Because, yeah, oh, he never found the tree with that everyone else did, so he didn't have that Kaylee shuffle looking for sky fragments, so this could come into play. So, in the meantime, let me pop open Captain Nerd's Twitch and see where he's at. Because like I said, we don't have him on Restream, but he is also running this, and so he's live. Just gotta wait for the ads, and then I'll fill y'all in. And yeah, so it looks like we're just kind of watching and waiting. So it looks like Caleb also has all of his fragments, or else has forgotten that he doesn't have all of his fragments. We'll find out very shortly. Oh, yeah, Ninja, this randomizer is incredibly interesting. If you, like, enjoyed Mystic Quest at all, or even if you didn't enjoy Mystic Quest, I've heard people who didn't like the original Mystic Quest get in this and enjoy themselves. So, ffmqrando.net if you want to check it out. Alright, so Captain Nerd, in the meantime, currently sitting at Volcano. Looks like he's about level 15. I am not sure how many fragments he has, since Emo Tracker unfortunately has not been updated yet to include the fragments. But judging by what he's got, I'd say he's probably not too far behind. So if Caleb runs into any trouble here, Captain Nerd could get back into this. But, alright, so... yeah, right now Caleb does have the advantage going into this final stream here. Yeah, so just to clarify the link that Gigotomi is trying to share there, that's ffmqrando.net for the main randomizer, and dev.ffmqrando.net for the beta that has some of the features that are being shown off here, specifically the enemy ability shuffle, which can do some very rude things, or some very friendly things, as well as a handful of other features. And drag Hebbings up here into the chat. Hey Hebbings, how you doing?
I'm doing alright. A little frustrated that some of my usual hotspots weren't as lucrative this time, but Rando's gonna rando. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, pretty much, and you're still in the marathon, so, you know.
Yeah.
This was a race for not last.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a sub 50 time, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things with 4 people and everything happening quickly, you know, we can't pay attention to everything. Was there any particularly, like, nasty enemy ability shuffles you saw? It didn't look like anyone hit any major roadblocks, so I kind of assumed not, but, you know, maybe I missed something.
Nothing particularly insurmountable, although the black slimes did roll Pazuzu's Reflect that does roll 1500 damage. And not being able to just blast them with magic was a little risky. So that was a concern when I was going through Giant Tree.
Alright, and I'll go ahead and yank Artea up here as well. Artea, GG, can you hear us? Okay, well... we can't hear...
Oh, hello, thanks for the
No problem, you put on a tremendous performance. Also, okay, there we go, I lost visual there for a second. Caleb, though, managing to even things up with Oipo.
Yeah, it looked like Oipo accidentally got a Reflect spell off and put down his Phoebe.
Yeah, that's what I thought I saw, too. So yeah, Artea, your routing was a bit different for everyone else, but it paid off really well.
It was weird. I mean, those flags are really weird. I use a route that is significantly different than usual, than when I run the rando usually, because it's all about density with those flags. You do not have a go mode except a bunch of coins. So going through everything, going through bosses, and it's not worth it. Just go for density. And there were some places and some moments that I've been extremely lucky, and I'm talking about the forest, the Windia forest, because I was like I was so close of just getting the 3-weather, and oh, that's a way to just get rid of my Phoebe 1 and get Phoebe 2, and then afterward just roll over everything with white. But I just decided to go on a little because there was like 3 or 4 more chests in the forest, and the elixir was there. I mean, there are a lot of things in that seed that I was extremely lucky on, and I think that a bunch of the difference. Also, the boss, all the bosses in Doom Tower and Doom Castle were really bad.
Yeah, like it was one of those things. I was kind of sitting here waiting for like, well, things might even up, and then no, Doom Castle just rolled over and died.
Yeah.
Did you find that?
GG, Binks.
Nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you say lucky, but like, there's only a 4-minute spread between you and Hebbing, so y'all took different routes. I feel like some of it also came down to execution. I mean, you both were really crisp going through this scene. But yeah, so, Artea, just as a question, so...
Yep.
Once you found all of your fragments, I think you found it, like, your last fragment fairly early in Lava Dome.
Yep.
Was the rest of it just hunting for, like, something other than... Like, were you looking for the Excalibur specifically, or were you just looking for...
No, it was life. It was for life.
Okay.
What the Skull, the reason why I just went away as soon as I got the Skull was because there were 2 mandatory fights and possibly more to get to the next section. So that's why I just exit at that point.
Okay.
It was not for the X-Call. I was looking for life.
Okay.
Talking of which, do you know where it was?
You found life at some point, didn't you?
I
I
didn't. No.
did. It was P Tower, wasn't it?
Okay. Yeah,
Oh, right.
that's right.
That's also quite high density if you can get through the first part.
All right. And unfortunately, it looks like, yeah, Caleb has forfeit the race. So that does mean that Oipo and Captain Nerd are automatically going to make it in, assuming that they both finish.
That's
Uh,
unfortunate.
yeah, well, I mean, that was a little bit rude. You both just kind of handle it very well.
Yeah.
But Oipo is into his Dark King fight, and if we learned anything from watching you two, that Dark King fight is. Um,
He did 800 hit on my Ben at some point. I think it was in Spider Phase. He has the multi hit thingy, and I think he hit like twice or 3 times, and it one shot it. But I mean, if he has life on top of it, I'm pretty sure that he'll be able to handle that. I was kinda uh, not overconfident, but the underconfident or whatever, the opposite of overconfident going in, because I know that Dark King can have quite a bunch of life. He has good stats, and if he ever crits Phoebe, it was done for me. I had to get over, and it was a sure wipe.
yeah, it doesn't look like Oipo's got life either.
Oh, so
But
he needs to play it safe. Yeah.
yeah, the bright side is, yeah, first of all, Dark King throwing out those ice cubes, doing a
It does
lot
nothing.
of work. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. The fact that it's still hitting for 300 on Phoebe means that that is some rudeness. But
We agree.
yeah, but fortunately, it doesn't look like this Dark King had anything that was going to be a one shot on Phoebe. So as long as you're diligent, this Dark King didn't seem to have much on the table.
Unless he crits, maybe.
Yeah, but
But it's
Yeah.
very unlikely.
This Dark King was pretty tame. I went in over prepared.
I mean, it's one of those things you can't like Artea was saying, you can't know until you're in there and Dark King is doing rude things.
Yeah.
When you have exit, it helps a lot at just going in, see is it rude or not, or any other boss for the matter. I've got a couple of golems that were extremely rude, and I had to just get out and get exit. There was absolutely no way to get through that golem. So those are kind of things that can happen.
Yeah.
And with
Uh,
exit, you just exit out and
yeah.
go and get whatever you need.
And Oipo has jumped in to
GG?
the chat.
GG's,
Yeah,
man.
GG Oipo. Who, if you are talking, we cannot hear you. But yeah, so Captain Nerd, like I said, is still going. I'm not sure where he is. I can pop open his stream again real quick and double check. Uh,
There we go. Sorry. OBS was taking no control over the microphone. GG's, everyone. And like always, the is the ultimate pain point.
yeah, that was that. You and Caleb both had some aggravation from Zuh on that point.
It definitely did not help that every time we put up a side shield, I cast white or something. That was not a good idea.
It happens. Yeah, so both exit and life were out there for the record. We just didn't find it. So, in the meantime, yeah, so Captain Nerd still has a little bit of work to do before he can catch up to the rest of us, or to everyone else, but he should finish eventually. And I think Caleb has already said that he's fine with not being in the marathon anyway, so Either way, that does confirm Artea, Hebbings, Oipo, and Captain Nerd will be our four contenders for the marathon race here in a week. So now we kind of have you three here at least. Any modifications y'all are thinking of making to these flags at this point, or are y'all pretty much locked in for what you're going to do?
I'm content with the current flag set. I think the only tweak I would potentially want to show off is randomizing how many shards are needed, since that would force a mandatory shrug from Ben at the beginning of the game. But I'll leave that up to my co-runners and whether or not we all agree if that's something we want to do.
All right. Uh, yeah. So Oipo, I went ahead and asked Hebbings this, and I don't think I had a chance to ask you, Artea. So same question for you. Did y'all see any interesting abilities get shuffled around when you were running through there? Hebbings already mentioned the reflect on the black slimes, but was there anything else that was particularly noteworthy that we may have missed?
Beginning of the seed, we had I think it was the toads in one of the battlefields that just passed some really overpowered move and just insta killed Ben and Tristram.
Oh
So
yeah.
I noped out of there, picked up Phoebe, picked up some other things, some strong weapons. I think I got the Aegis shield somewhere, and then I went back to the was like, oh, now I can do dungeon. So it worked out in the end, but yeah, the beginning of the seed, especially with the attack randomizer, can be a bit rough.
Artea, did you see anything of interest, or was that pretty much your experience?
It was pretty much my experience. There was the we were kind of lucky of getting Aegis Shield early on because when I went and get the Phoebe 1 check, I had a mandatory fight with the worms, the blue worms in Wintry Cave, who were super fast, and on top of being super fast, they had Petrify. That was mean. But
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, with Aegis Shield, it wasn't really a problem because their attacks were pretty tame, so they could just not petrify Ben. But I could see multiple situations where that could be extremely, but extremely bad.
All right. Well, I think that we pretty much this seed went really quickly, so I think we pretty much hit on all of the interesting details. So I guess y'all are gonna keep yourselves sharp for the marathon here in about a month. And again, for folks who might catch this VOD later or tuned in a little bit late and missed it, the Final Fantasy 1 randomizer community is doing a winter marathon here on December 9th, 10th, and 11th, benefiting the Medical University of South Carolina Children's Health and the South Carolina Firefighters Burn Children's Fund, a charity dedicated to easing the recovery process for pediatric burn patients and their families in South Carolina. 100% of all proceeds from the marathon will go to the charity. And we will be participating as the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest randomizer community with a four-way race of the flags you saw here today, more or less. So, if you thought this was entertaining, be sure to tune to the marathon to catch it again. And, tune to the marathon in general. It's for charity. What do you have to lose? There's going to be a lot of interesting runs going on with that. I don't necessarily know everything that's happening, but I know the fine folks who are going to be involved with that, and I'm sure there's going to be some very interesting hijinks. So, yeah, that pretty much does it. Any of y'all have anything else you wanted to add before we go ahead and sign out?
Well, I certainly want to thank all the organizing committee of the FFR marathon, of course, but also of this race and of the marathon, not of the marathon, but the part FFMQ that will be at the marathon. That is Ebings, I think, that wanted to do that. So big shout out, thanks, and to to you, Wout, and to Giga for tracking and Vampire. It's highly, highly. What's the word? Whatever. I appreciate. It's highly appreciated.
Um, yeah. Thank you very much. Being Soipo, y'all have anything else to add, or just echoing the sentiment?
Basically, yeah, and you know, I'm really glad that I could get this together for everybody. Like you said, it was for a good cause, and I think everybody was really hyped to go ahead and rep the community, and not only something that was going to be fun, but you know, it's going to benefit a good cause. And I'm glad we got to do a beta demo. I think there's a lot of cool features that we have in development as a community that don't get shown off necessarily for events. So to be able to show off some of the more wacky stuff involved in the randomizer, maybe entice some of you to come join us in the community, is always a great opportunity for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Once
Same
again,
here.
sorry, Opo, you had anything else to add?
No, I just wanted to say same here. Thank you so much
Alright.
for organizing. Hope to see you in the next race.
Yeah. So just as again a reminder, we are at ffmqrando.net. There's a link to our Discord there. If you want to check out the beta feature specifically, that is dev.ffmqrando.net. And yeah, we'll hope to see you all around. I see Big Daryl 1986 in chat. Shoutouts again to him. Sorry you couldn't make the race, but I hope you and yours are doing all right now. So with all that being said, have a good day, everyone, and we'll catch y'all later. Take care.